Hey there, we're back again, and today we're going to talk about something completely different. We're going to talk about castling. Last time we talked about pawn promotion, and today we're going to talk about castling. Now, castling is the only move in which you can move two pieces at the same time. And it's going to involve your rook and your king. So let's take a look at this. Now, if say our board looks like this. Now, most of the time your board's not going to look like this when we castle, but say your board is like this. If you are white, you are going to castle. You can castle on either the king side, which would be this side over here, or you can castle on the queen side. However, you don't have a rook, so you can't castle here. So if you're the white, you can move your piece. Your king will go to G1, and your rook will go to F1, and creating a little castle right here. And that is on the king side. However, black is going to demonstrate it on the queen side. And so black is going to castle. Your black is going to go to C1, and your rook is going to go to D1. And if you notice, it's further away. It doesn't go as far. So the king will generally go 2 spaces, as in even on this side, 1, 2, and the rook will go to the other side. And it's the only time where there's somewhat of a jump with the rook. Now it's a special circumstance. So let's say look at it from the other angle. So if we're on the white is going to castle on the queen side. It's going to go here, 1, 2 spaces over, and the rook would go on the other side of the king. And black, if the black is going to castle on the king side, it goes 2 spaces, and the rook goes over 2 spaces on the other side of the king. And there's only certain circumstances where this can happen. Now, 1, if you have never moved your king or your rook. So if you've taken this rook right here, if you're white and you've taken your rook on A1 over here, and you've moved it across the board and you moved it back, then you are not able to move it. That you cannot castle anymore. But if you have never moved those pieces, then you are able to castle. 2, there are no pieces in the way. So if you had your bishop or your knight or your queen, if you're on the queen side, still in the way, you would no longer be able to castle. However, if there are no pieces in the way, you can castle. And 3, you are not currently at check. So if you were in check at one point, and you either block that piece or capture that piece that put you in check, then you are able to castle. However, if you are currently in check, you cannot castle. And we're going to look at a couple circumstances with that in a second. So let's look at this one. Say we're on this side. We're white, and let's look at black side. So black right here is not in check, so it could move. And white is not in check, so it can move. And so let's just say we move our white. We want to castle the white. Now, this is a special circumstance. 1, you can't castle on the king side. The reason being is that the queen is threatening this square on F1. It's threatening F1. So we cannot cross the threatening line. So right now, if that is going to put our king in check, or crossing a line that is in check, we can't castle. However, on the queen side, nothing is preventing that from happening. There are no pieces that are in check. You're not crossing anything that's in check. And you're not going to put your piece in a place that's checked. So we can move our king over 2 spaces, and our rook can go over on the other side of the king, 1 space from the king. Now, if we're black and we decide we want to castle, we can't go here, because again, this piece right here is checking this. So if we moved our king to this piece, we would essentially be moving it into check, and you never can put your own piece in check. That is an illegal move. You'd have to go back. And we can't go on the queen side, because we would be passing this line by this rook. Since the white has castled, they are threatening the piece on. They are threatening the square d8, and so we can't pass that one. So black cannot castle at all in this position. So let's look at this. So we're playing, and we want to get castle, and this is most of the time you're going to try to castle as early in the game as possible. So white moves first. We've already learned that white will move first. So if we take white, it's always a pretty good idea to take and move your queen, your pawn in front of your queen. And black decides they want to try to castle on the queen side. So they're going to move this piece out, and they don't want to move it out. This is probably not the most ideal because you want to try to take control of the board, and white right now is taking control of the board. And so, but black decides to only move one space. Now white is going to try to move all these pieces out of the way. So you're taking these pieces. Now you've moved your bishop out. White is going to likewise move the bishop out. Try to get it out of the way. It's white's turn. White is going to then move the knight and move towards the center of the board. And black again is going to probably move the knight out, trying to take over control. Now white is in a position where white can castle. So white king moves over two spaces, 1, 2, and the rook goes over on the other side of the king. Now if you look, this is creating somewhat of a castle. It's a little fortress, and that's why this is a good position. There are no weak places on this right here. It is a good defense. Say if they put their knight here, it's going to be threatened by this pawn right here. So this square right here is being threatened by this pawn. This square is being threatened by this pawn. This square is being threatened by this pawn, and this square is being threatened by this pawn. And so that's why this is a really good defense. So unless the weakest point on this would be the queen, if you put a queen right here and then backed it up by another piece. And so that's the only one position that's really weak. But this is a really strong area, a really strong defense, and you want to do this generally as soon as in the game as possible. Now black's going to continue to try to castle on the queen side, so black would then move here. And you notice this is taking more moves to castle on the queen side. You have to move more pieces out of the way, whereas white now has a chance to move these out. Okay? And again, you don't want to move your pawns, especially these 3 pawns. It's a good idea to keep those pawns where they are just for the castling purposes. Now black is now in the position where black can castle on the queen side. So black is going to move over 2 spaces, and the rook is going to go on the other side. And black as well has a little fortress set up right here. And so it's a pretty good fortress too. So this is how you castle. So we're going to use this in your game today. You're going to use this to castle, try to get your pieces where they need to be, move your pieces around. Now you know how to check your opponent. You know how to put your opponent in checkmate. I know this is still difficult, and you also know about stalemate. Those are what you're going to look for. And now with pawn promotion and castling, that's 2 more aspects of chess that will help make you a better player. So look at trying to do both of those when you play, and have fun and good luck.